In mid-August 2025, the U.S. Navy's USS Santa Barbara, an Independence-class littoral combat ship, docked at Colombo port in Sri Lanka from August 15th to 22. At first glance, the visit looks like a routine port call, part of regular U.S.-Sri Lanka naval engagements, goodwill missions, and maritime cooperation exercises. But the timing has raised eyebrows. The visit coincides almost perfectly with India's scheduled missile test window, valid until August 21st, 2025. This overlap has triggered debate among analysts. Was this merely routine naval diplomacy, or was it a carefully calculated move aimed at monitoring India's advancing missile capabilities? Context. Why India's missile development makes global powers cautious. Why China repeatedly sends research vessels to Sri Lankan ports during such events, and why the Indian Ocean is becoming one of the most contested maritime theaters of the 21st century. The U.S. Navy often makes scheduled visits to ports across South Asia, including Colombo, Kochi, and Male. These stops usually serve multiple purposes: refueling and logistics. Port calls provide replenishment opportunities. Naval diplomacy. Such visits foster goodwill with host nations, reinforcing partnerships, joint training and exercises. They set the stage for maritime drills, enhancing interoperability. However, the timing of the Santa Barbara's visit stands out. India's missile testing program, especially trials of long-range ballistic and cruise missiles, has become a matter of close scrutiny for both Washington and Beijing. Positioning a U.S. naval asset in nearby Sri Lanka during India's testing window potentially provides the U.S. military with signal intelligence, monitoring telemetry data of missile launches, electronic intelligence, intercepting frequencies and radar emissions during tests, geospatial awareness, tracking India's missile ranges and performance. If the U.S. Navy's port call raised speculation, China's behavior is even more telling. Beijing regularly deploys so-called oceanographic research vessels, or tracking ships, to the Indian Ocean, particularly docking at Colombo or Hambantota in Sri Lanka. Officially, these ships are engaged in scientific surveys and ocean mapping. In reality, they are equipped with advanced tracking radars, satellite uplinks, and electronic surveillance gear capable of monitoring. For China, the Indian Ocean represents a crucial lifeline. Nearly 80% of its oil imports pass through the region. India's growing missile and naval strength threatens to dominate these sea lines of communication. This is why China, often under the guise of scientific missions, ensures that it has a constant eye on India's defense advancements. India's missile program has undergone a transformation in the past 2 decades. From the early Prithvi and Agni-I programs to the latest Agni-V and Agni-6 ICBMs, BrahMos supersonic cruise missile, and hypersonic glide vehicle projects, India is rapidly positioning itself as a formidable missile power. Several reasons explain why this worries global players. Strategic reach beyond South Asia. Agni-V brings most of China and large parts of Europe within India's strike range. Future Agni-6 developments could push that envelope further. Nuclear triad completion. With land-based missiles, air-delivered systems, and submarine-launched ballistic missiles, India has achieved a credible nuclear triad, strengthening deterrence. Hypersonic potential. India is developing hypersonic glide vehicles, which could neutralize traditional missile defense systems. China's perspective. India's growing missile arsenal threatens Chinese assets in Tibet, Xinjiang, and coastal provinces. Beijing also fears the export of BrahMos and other systems to Southeast Asian nations that resist Chinese hegemony. U.S. perspective. While Washington views India as a partner in counterbalancing China, it is wary of any destabilizing arms race in Asia. The U.S. also wants to ensure India's missile capabilities align with non-proliferation norms. Regional powers. Pakistan remains India's immediate rival and reacts to every Indian advancement with tests of its own missiles. Middle Eastern nations too monitor Indian capabilities given their economic and diaspora links. So, was the USS Santa Barbara's visit routine or covert surveillance? The truth likely lies in between. Officially, it was a scheduled stop, in line with maritime diplomacy. Unofficially, its timing allowed the U.S. to position itself advantageously to monitor India's missile developments. In the high-stakes chessboard of the Indian Ocean, coincidences are rare. China's repeated deployment of research vessels, Washington's naval port calls, and the alertness of regional players all highlight one reality. India's missile program is no longer just about national defense. It is reshaping the balance of power in Asia. The world watches India's missile advancements closely because they represent not just military capability, but strategic intent. If you found the video insightful, hit the like button and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.